I'm good. You good?
I'm good. Troy, are you good?
Yeah. You're kind of mediocre.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Hardheaded Podcast. That's the first time I've ever said podcast right there. All right. As always, I'm sitting across from Mr. Matt Amos, and to my far right, Mr. Chet Sears, and I am Troy, three-shot Trussell. Today we got a great show for you, folks. We're going with what's on Matt's mind, top 3 sports movies, and then Pastor Chet is gonna end it with a good word. So I can't wait. I'm excited about this episode.
Call it Brother Chet.
Brother Chet. So Matt,
he's gonna bring us the good word.
What is on your mind, sir?
I don't know. I would say, I guess recently would be all of the stuff that's kind of going on in Afghanistan.
You've been getting a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
About what my thoughts were about what's going on over there. And so I made just kind of a reply, I guess, like a general reply to all these people that were asking me, because my opinion of the situation doesn't change. And so many people were messaging me. So I was like, well, I need to come out with something and just here are my thoughts, and just kind of copy and paste to everybody that was asking. And then it got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to post it. And so I posted my comment, and I was kind of looking for an attention getter, because if you just put something on there with words, nobody's going to actually read the words. And even if you put it,
really?
Yeah, I'm serious. It's pretty evident. Even when you put a picture on there,
yeah,
you can tell who actually read the comments and who just looked at the picture and made their comment, made their assessment of the situation based on the picture. So
before we get too much further, though, people are wanting to know your opinion on Afghanistan, because you were in the Marines and you served in Afghanistan.
Right. So I served in Afghanistan back in 2011. And, prior to that, having 2 deployments to Iraq.
So you've been in the region.
Yeah. And so, I've worked with, some of those guys that are fleeing, and I've got a lot of buddies that are working the interpreter situation, trying to get some of those interpreters that did really well for us and help them get back across the border, because just for education purposes here, like you're deployed, you guys are going hunting down known folks that are terrorists, basically. Right.
And you were in there. They had Afghanistan military and civilians embedded with you.
So when I was there, we had the ANCOP, which is the Afghanistan National Coalition of Police, and then we had the ANA, which is the Afghan National Army.
Okay.
Afghan National Army.
Yeah.
And trained with both of those groups.
And like interpreters would be part of one of those, or separate?
No, and interpreters would be basically employed by the U.S. military, as I understand it. No, I'm not real sure of their pay scale.
But they're not like a military person. They're like they're regular civilian.
Yeah, that speaks English and Pashtun or whatever language we need them for. And those guys, they literally put it all on the line for us. When we were there to help us out. Because I think I've said it in a previous podcast. In Iraq, there was a family that had helped some Marines out on a previous deployment to ours. And when we got there, here we are treating this kid with, burns all over his body because I think it was Al Qaeda, poured gas on him and lit him on fire. And it was, punishment for the family helping us. And so, if they're going to do that to kids, what are they going to do and I've heard reports, and of course I haven't seen this, so I can't substantiate it. But I have heard, just recently where they chopped a guy's arms off, and killed his family. So, and those are the people that helped us, and, to abandon them would be an absolute disgrace, for this country. And so it's being done by a lot of, former military veterans and active duty that are saying, hey, these were our guys. They were there to help us. And they're working through FaceTime or, social media and doing video chats and like, hey, I'm here. And then, literally showing the phone to the guards and being like, having one of our guys vouch for this guy so he can get in to try to get evacuated. So,
Right.
That's a pretty serious situation that's going on over there, especially for those guys, because their lives and their families' lives are literally at risk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to get worse, especially after we are done, after we pull out and
We're there. I mean, that's basically happened. Like that we have, other than the Kabul airport, we're out.
yeah, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and so I'm getting kind of these questions, and they're not necessarily about that. I just brought that up because that is one of the subjects that is involved in this whole situation.
And one of the other questions is, how do you feel? You went over there, you served, you got injured, and now we're just giving up. Like, so how do you feel about that? That's the other question.
And my response to that was, it's not something that honestly comes as a surprise. When I was over there and the people that I worked with, and again, I can only speak from my personal experience. Some of these other guys might have found some of these fighters that they had, whether they're the army, the Afghan army or the ANCOP, that were phenomenal fighters, who wanted to do the job, who had the heart and the will to carry this mission on. The people that I trained really didn't. I had multiple times where, there was an IED that went off and it blew one of the ANCOP, it blew his legs off, and it was right down at the bottom of one of our posts. And, then all of his buddies come up and we're like, well, that was your bomb, and it's like, no,
we're not putting IEDs out there.
Yeah. We don't put IEDs. And so, we have, we have claymores, if you guys know what claymores are, but you actually have to use a clacker, clack it, and then it sets it off. And so then they were like, well, somebody was in there and they detonated the claymore. And I was like, no, so literally almost getting in a fight with these guys to the point I had to threaten them. Like, I go to the commander and I'm like, if your guys continue to do this, I'm going to straight up kill them, because I can't have them in this camp and trust them.
Yeah. And
so you need to handle it. And the commander that I had, and unfortunately he was killed a couple of years ago by an IED. And again, goes to show, and I think I've talked about this before, it seems like I have, but this fight continues to go on, even when I'm gone. I've been gone for 10 years now.
10 years, yeah.
And he's still fighting, just got killed 2 years ago by the same mechanism that I was injured with.
Yeah. So some people's take that those that are in the Afghan army or the police force are just lame and they lay down their arms, and when it was their turn to take over, they just stunk at it. Well, they've actually been in this fight and been losing their lives, losing their limbs for decades already, right alongside with our troops.
Yeah. And, and I think it was the support from our troops that kept them going.
Yeah.
Because, and again, and it goes back to the way I understand it, because this is the way that Iraq was described to me. And I believe I read it in On Killing or On Combat by Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, that, and it might be explained in there somewhere, I'm not 100% sure. But they're a tribal people and they follow the strongest tribe. So when the U.S. military was there, the U.S. military was the strongest tribe. They wanted to follow us. We were it.
Yeah.
And so now that we're gone,
who's the next strongest tribe?
Who do they have to follow? And so that's going to be the one that comes in, shows the most force. Now it's two different types of leadership, which we talked about with Greg, or I'm not Greg, drawing a blank, negotiator.
Oh, Dan.
Oblinger.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And so the two different types of leadership that we talked about with him, and it's very apparent in the difference between the way that my guys and I led as opposed to the way the Taliban leads. So the Taliban leads by a straight authoritarian. What I say goes, you have to do what I say. And when we come in, it's like, well, here's how we would recommend you do it. Here's how we've done it. Mm-hmm. And then you show them and you actively do it with them. And so you're fighting side by side. And I mean, even one gunfight that I can remember, it was a little easier for them because they could just shoot back, whereas we had to we had to analyze the situation and be like, okay, there's too big a risk of civilian casualties here.
Yeah.
My guys
your rules of engagement are different than theirs.
Right. So our guys are holding fire and their guys are just straight laying it out. Now they're not being effective because they're just spraying and praying, but at least they got into the fray of things. And I didn't see any of that cowardice, I would say, of just dropping everything and running. But we have to understand that from their position as well, because we're gone. They're going to have to live there. Mm-hmm. Do they want to fight every day of their life for the rest of their life? With no end goal.
Big brother there to help. Right. Yeah.
So
no air support,
there's nothing. And so there, I would think that they would feel just deflated and be like, okay, let's just switch over to this tribe now because it's what's going to allow us to live.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I guess the gist of the overall situation that I see. But
I find that interesting. If you go back to, the revolution of the U.S., the colonials, and I've heard it said that it was basically a third. So a third of the people wanted our independence. A third of the people didn't care, either way. And then a third wanted to stay under Great Britain's rule. But the 1/3 that was, if you look at the Declaration of Independence too, they're going to pledge their lives,
right,
their livelihoods, their fortunes, and how rare that is to have people stand up and say, this is worth me losing everything, including my life for. That doesn't happen. And coming from the U.S., it would seem like, well, that's just a normal thing because that's how we got here. Well, show me where else that's happened, right? Yeah. It's very rare.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Yeah. And, everybody's looking at the timeline and saying, this timeline sucks or blaming, one president or the other. And I mean, could the extract have been better and more well thought out? 100%.
Yeah. I don't know if it could have gone any worse,
and
yeah,
who cares where the blame lies?
Yeah.
Let's work together to figure out what we need to do to preserve the lives that need to be preserved.
Yes, but I think there's some people that need to be held accountable. But the weapons that are left behind, the night vision goggles, the helicopters, all that kind of stuff, there's no sense in that. Like there had to have been somebody that was responsible for that did not do their job.
Well,
I'm sorry, we left helicopters behind.
Oh
yeah. There's helicopters and drones and all kinds of, machine guns and
everything, MRAPs, the everything.
Now
that's just irresponsible.
Yes and no, because I can see it from two different ways. If you're going to start loading that stuff up, now you run the risk of being a target.
Destroy it.
Because you're trying to get that stuff out.
Blow it up.
Well, and who knows if any of that stuff works, right? So we don't know. And I like I've told other people, I go, it's hard enough for us to keep that equipment running when we're there, and we have the skilled technicians that work on that stuff, that it might work for them for 6 months, but where are they going to get the parts? And again, I go back to I guess I can back up to the post that I made. Was I put a picture on there, and I used the picture as an attention grabber, and going back to people actually reading the post or if they just looked at the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And the picture is supposedly of the Taliban mocking the flag raising of Iwo Jima.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the Marines on the right in a small picture, and then you got the Taliban all kitted out with, NVGs and AR, or M4s, actually they're not ARs, they're M4s, and battle gear and digital camo and all that kind of stuff. And people saying, I've had comments that say that's photoshopped, or, that picture, that's an old picture, whatever. I don't care. Yeah. That's not the point of the post. The picture is more of an attention grabber.
Yeah.
And so, and if you'd actually read the post, you would find that out, that it has really nothing to do with the picture. So that's just for anybody who is coming on because they saw the post and then want to hear, the actual thoughts and being spoken. And I apologize. I'm not as good at speaking my thoughts as I am at writing them, but I can think a little bit slower, which I need
with paper.
Yeah. So in that picture, they had all that gear, and somebody else had pointed out that was actually like a Taliban special forces unit, and that they had an annual budget of like $1.6 billion a year. So, and I guess that might be the Taliban's budget that somebody has figured out that they have. And that might be the case as well. But again, it does not change the point of my post, which is I believe they're cowards. I believe that they're unfit to lead because and again, my experience only, I can only talk from where I've been and what I've had to deal with, not anybody else and what they've dealt with. Cause I'm sure that there were some places where they got into pretty good gunfights with pretty good war fighters.
Yeah.
And it goes to prove, I mean, these people have been at war for centuries.
Yeah.
So they're good at fighting when they want to, but they won't. And I guess kind of the start of the post was I actually read a letter that was written supposedly, again, I can't confirm because I don't know. I haven't seen the actual letter in Arabic, but they're claiming victory, and they're claiming that the overarching key to this victory was patience.
Yeah.
They just waited us out. Well, that's technically not victory. I mean,
the same Taliban leaders that were there, 20 years ago they didn't wait it out. They're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's new ones stepping up. And and again, it goes back to, I saw this coming from my first deployment, because you're not going to change millennia worth of somebody's religious faith. So even, you got the Taliban, which are your extremists. Mm-hmm. And then you have more moderate Muslims that just want to live, and again, I think those are the ones that are just kind of dropping everything and saying, okay, hey, we're just going to follow whoever's in charge.
Yeah.
Because we just want to live our life. We want to go on day to day. We don't want anybody to bother us. And I completely understand that. But you can't defeat an ideology. I don't think it can really work that way in that type of country. Now, we did do that with the Nazis and stuff like that and their ideology. We beat that, but that wasn't really a religious ideology, I don't think.
Close to it. But yeah, it wasn't an established religion that somebody all of a sudden came in and said, I'm going to use force to convert people.
And and you're talking about the religion of what, half the world's population, Islam. Yeah. So, and those people, and I've told people this as well, when I was over there, I wish that Christians were as dedicated to Christianity as Muslims were to Islam, because they have prayer mats in their car.
That'd be a different world.
They stop to pray 5 times a day. It doesn't matter where they're at. There'd be a traffic jam during the call to prayer because everybody's pulling over. It's time to pray. They're going to face west or whatever direction they face.
Towards Mecca.
Yeah, they face towards Mecca and then pray. And they know the Quran back to front, front to back. I mean, they know that thing verbatim. Most of them know the Bible better than most Christians do. And so it's very hard to defeat that. And we knew that going in. So my only goal, and it might sound rough, I guess, but was to kill as many of the bad people as we possibly could. Mm-hmm. And then show the good people what we were about. And I think our main goal for being there was actually just to keep them from bringing that to the United States like they did on September 11th. We give them a battle space closer to home. They don't need to travel to come kill Americans or try to prove a point. We go there and we give them that battle where they want it. And that gives us time here to set up all the stuff that has restricted our freedoms with all the
So we can start spying our own U.S.
Right.
citizens and kill them with drones overseas and all that other stuff that's going on.
which is, that all that technology and all that stuff is good if the people running it have good intentions,
Which they don't.
which they don't. And so, but it had given us time to set all that up so that we can try to prevent that moving down the road. Now that we've got those systems kind of in place, hey, we're not going to make any progress. We're not making any further progress. Let's just pull out.
Yeah.
And to me, it really doesn't, I basically have no resentment or anger towards the way we pulled out or our time over there, because I know the good people that we helped.
Yeah.
And, even saving a couple of lives for 5 or 10 years more than they would have had.
Right.
That was, I think that was worth it. And especially when you see the legacy stuff that was left over from their fights from, with the British and everything like that. And then you've got kids that are just running down the street playing, and then boom, step on a pressure plate and they're just gone.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that kind of stuff here. I mean, that was almost a weekly incidence out there is, hey, there's a kid that's been blown up that stepped on an IED. So the more of those that we could clear out and those kids are going to be fine, I think, hey, that was worth it.
Yeah.
So there are so many positives being over there that I really don't see any negative. What was our end goal? What were we going to win? Nothing, except the lives of those people and hoping that the example that we set, which is why, again, going back to, now this was Greg's podcast, integrity, and showing those people what we were about, the good side of America, because I don't know how many conversations with those people I had through those interpreters that said, you guys are completely different than what we thought Americans would be. Mm-hmm. And so their whole propaganda machine of, hey, the West is bad, the devil from the West, they found out that it wasn't true. And we found out that we had more in common than we were different, because we'd sit down and we'd be like, we'd have dinner, they'd make us dinner, we'd sit down and we'd just talk. And most of the people in the areas I was, because I was out in the villages, I wasn't in like a city, or anything like that, anywhere that I went, so I wasn't in, Ramadi where they fought, those guys there. I wasn't in, I can't remember the other one. I wasn't in the Korengal Valley or any stuff like that. I was just in these small little villages along the way that it was basically farmers.
Yeah.
And so when we sit down and talk and they realize that, hey, I'm from Kansas. Well, where's Kansas? Because they only know New York and California. Those are the only two places that they really know. And you have to show them Kansas on a map. It's like, no, I'm right here. Oh, well, what's Kansas like? And I go, man,
farming.
I said, It's farming. It's just like this. I go, we got a few more trees and we're a little bit more green. I go, but I grew up baling hay and helping with that. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got,
because he's a country boy,
because I'm a country boy, and I got crops that I grow back home, food plots and stuff like that, kind of the same thing, except I'm raising to hunt and I don't see any wild game here at all.
Yeah.
And they're doing all this stuff, and I explained to them, yeah, I mean, we're doing this stuff with equipment that's $500,000, and you're doing it with a sickle, you're doing it by hand, and cutting it up, putting it on your head, carrying it back and processing it, and then they use it right there or take it to the market, whatever. But they realize, oh man, so we are similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're the same. I mean, we sit down, we have dinner with our families, and you're having dinner with your family. We have guests over. You've got guests over right now. So those moments and those experiences far outweigh any of the negative that could have happened or is coming from this ridiculous withdrawal.
Yeah. Two things. Well, you talked about ideologies, and this is probably for a different day, different discussion. But when you have to use force for people to follow what your ideology is, your ideology stinks.
I would agree.
If you can't convince somebody that, and I've been seeing a lot of parallels with what's going on in Australia with the COVID lockdowns. I watched a video allegedly of police officers restraining and pepper spraying a 12-year-old girl because she went and grocery shopped without a mask. I mean, like, if you have to use force to get people to align with your ideology, you're jacked up. So that's one. But the other one, like, if you're just an average GI and you lost an MRAP, you're getting court-martialed.
Well, it doesn't even have to be an MRAP. I mean, it could be the bolt or the firing pin out of your weapon. I mean, it could be
right. Anything. Somebody, in my opinion, somebody should be held accountable for not accounting for it. Because here's the thing. If that was part of the plan, we're going to leave all these thousands of guns and millions of rounds of ammunition and all this stuff, all this equipment, then say it. Or if you did damage it so nobody could use it, then say it. But I think the reality is, because it's crickets, and hearing some of these leaders talk, even generals, that somebody's got to be held accountable. You can't have your leadership have you do things and it be okay, where if you were to individually do it, you get the book thrown at you. It, like that upsets me.
Well, it's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And I get that, and everybody's kind of, crazy about, leaving the MVGs and stuff like that. It's not like they don't have that stuff already. Now it's more available.
But you don't give it to them though. I mean, that's the whole.
And again, it's not like we just gave it to them. That stuff was supposed to be left for the Afghan National Army. And, their military
and all
forces.
The intelligence said that what happened was going to happen, and somebody ignored it.
Exactly. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I mean, because they could have come and asked me, do you think these guys are going to stay and fight? Absolutely not.
Right.
Now, having said that, and since making my original comment to the people that messaged me, in my Facebook post, I did say that, hey, since I wrote this original statement, I have seen where there are pockets of resistance.
Yeah.
And of course there's going to be some, and I really, really hope that they have the heart and the drive to continue that
and
fight.
The equipment.
Oh, I'm sure they have the equipment. I'm pretty sure they're more well equipped than we are. Just as normal U.S. citizens, which is, that's the part that upsets me the most really, is we left them all kinds of 240s and I can't get one. I mean, awesome machine gun. So
yeah,
I'd like to have one. But I got to do a class 3 and all this kind of stuff. Nobody's just going to give me one.
They didn't give anybody anything. They left them there, Matt.
Well, I mean, I guess I did. They did. I mean, but it was kind of a gift to the military over there. But, again, I don't have any regrets or anger towards that situation. And maybe it's just because I saw it coming, and maybe that's from more of being just a realist than a dreamer.
Yeah.
Any book that you've read on their culture that says that, hey, that's what they're going to do.
Right.
And why would it now change?
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully that the example that we set, and again, comes back to integrity, hopefully that example we set fosters that need for wanting to be a leader, wanting to take charge, and wanting to fix their own country.
Yeah.
So maybe they could take the good things that they saw from us and apply those. That's where I'm at.
All right.
Appreciate your insight, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could probably go on for another hour on that, but.
Well, because according to some people out there, that Troy and I aren't even allowed to talk about it. Because, we weren't deployed.
Oh, well, whatever. Everybody has a right to their opinion. Even the even the ones that comment on the Facebook post that I made and just say that picture was faked, that picture was photoshopped, that picture was whatever.
Made in a Hollywood basement.
There's so much value being added.
Read the post. I mean, if you're going to take the time to comment, you might as well be informed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I have gotten a lot of friend requests from Afghanistan over the last couple of days.
Vouch for me, please.
No, I don't think it's those at all.
Oh.
I think it's on the other side of that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Can I have your address, Marine? Yeah.
yeah, and it's whatever. Not worried about it.
Well, since we're on the subject, can you speak to kind of the press that we're getting in other countries, talking bad about what we did by pulling out? Because I did hear like there were some
No.
British folks.
Yeah, but it wasn't that we did. Like, so the previous administration set the deadline, and actually dates that were before now. May was the original.
Right, because I remember
timeline.
talks of an extraction.
Yeah, it's always been a part of the plan that we got to get out of Afghanistan.
Right.
So it's not that we did. That's always been part of the plan. It's how we did it. The fact that we didn't account for, the people that supported us, which we planned to.
Well, and we didn't even account for U.S. citizens that were still there, not as military.
Or the embassy, or it was just done in such a way. Friend of my sister and brother-in-law's is stuck at the airport as I know of today, as this is being recorded right now. Still get, the first 3 days he literally didn't sleep. He's just trying to survive and get on an airplane. So I just the way that we did it is what everybody's complaining about. So it's not just Great Britain, which they hammered the current administration in Parliament.
Yeah, that's what I was
session
referring to.
The Germany is hammering it. Like all of NATO is just the North Atlantic. Help me out. You're gonna have to look that up, Jamie.
Treaty Organization,
Something.
NATO,
Something.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
NATO.
Anyway, they're just everybody there is like, hey, this is not how it was supposed to go. And the frustrating thing is when you talk to anybody in the current administration about like why, and they're like, oh, this is going to be ugly no matter what. You're like, but why did you do this? Well, it was going to be ugly no matter what. Well, why is it going so poorly? Oh, that happened 4 days ago, man. Why are you asking about that now? We got planes flying out today. Actually, you have reporters on the ground and at the airport saying that planes hadn't left in 12 hours. Well, that's not true. Oh, okay. So you're sitting over here just saying everything's hunky-dory, but there's actually people over there saying there hasn't been an aircraft that left this place in the last, 8 hours, 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like, quit being an idiot. Like, own up to it. Hold people accountable. It is what it is now. I mean, you're not going to make it any prettier, but you can go get people and get them out of there.
Yeah, and they definitely should have accounted for that. And I don't know where the disconnect was on that or why there was a disconnect. But, you look at drawing down and getting out, that it's been spoken of, but not in detail.
Yeah.
What is everybody worried about? Oh, we're worried about getting the entire military vaccinated for COVID-19. And so I think a lot of the focus wasn't actually on the mission of getting out. It was dealing with other things.
We've got some other training.
Right. We've got some other safety stand downs that you guys really need to focus on right now instead of the
going to figure out our pronouns.
The evacuation from a war-torn country. But
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Oh,
I think we got that.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look that up.
Well, actually, we had it. I had North Atlantic, and you had Treaty Organization.
Yep. Never really had to work with too many of those guys.
Yeah.
But no, so that's kind of what's been on my mind. I really hope for the best because there's still quite a few people that are over there that are unfortunately stuck because I've heard they've kind of shut down flights as well. And then now we're getting orders, the Taliban's giving orders to this administration that, hey, you guys said August 31st, and if you don't, it's going to get bad. So
as if it isn't bad already, it can get worse.
It will get worse.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I know that there was one family of missionaries. It was a husband and wife and their daughter. They were fortunate enough to somehow get on a private plane actually and got out.
Yeah.
and we've had success with a few interpreters, getting those guys out.
Yeah.
And kudos to one of the Marines that I served with, Espinal. I mean, he's kind of been leading the charge, and he's been writing letters to his quote leaders, and I use the term loosely, about what are we going to do to get these guys out. And he's been doing that for the last month and a half almost.
Yeah.
Trying to get ahead of what's currently happening right now. And so kudos to him for taking that charge, and the Marines that are there, helping him out as well.
Yeah.
Because it is a bad situation. Those guys that helped us out. I mean, to me, that's the most important thing, is getting those guys out. Because for what we did there, I have no regrets. But it would
people
be,
that put their lives on the line next to you guys deserve to be.
It would be extremely
for us to follow
regrettable.
through on our word.
That would be regrettable if they weren't able to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Very good. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll jump into our top 3.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Admiral's Pennant Beard Oil. Why don't you head on over to admiralspennant.com and find yourself a beard oil for you or your bearded loved one. Admiral's Pennant, without it, you might as well shave.
All right. We're
back.
That's your line. All right. Today.
All right, we're back.
Seriously?
Yeah, I just did it.
Man, like Alan Robertson cutting me off. Top 3 sports movies. So, I want to go first. Is that cool?
Yeah, I guess I'll let
All
you.
right.
You said this was the easiest one for you.
It was good because these 3, when I saw the top 3, what we were going to talk about, they just popped into my head.
Like boom, boom, boom?
Like 1, 2,
in
3.
order? Or was
3,
the number
2.
1 that came in first?
Actually, it was number 1 came in first. Number 3 came in my mind second. Number 2 came in last.
All right.
But I didn't. Yeah.
But we only want to hear number 3 first.
That's right. That's the way I do it. I said I.
Yeah.
All right. So number 3, top 3 sports movies. Happy Gilmore.
That is a good one.
That is a good one. Very quotable. Just great slapstick humor. I love it. Happy Gilmore, 1996, Adam Sandler. For those wondering, if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out.
It's pretty funny. They I can't remember the guy that was
Chubbs?
no. I do remember it, but the actor's name who played the villain. What's his name?
Oh, Shooter.
Robert Downey Jr. Is that who it is?
No, that's Iron Man. I don't even remember his
Shooter
name.
McGavin.
Yeah. It's a Robert something, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm going to get Jamie on that. But what were you going to say about him?
Oh, anyway, they like he tweets at Adam Sandler as Shooter.
Oh,
like still today.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they did something where they were doing these little video shorts, and
Yeah.
Adam Sandler gets out there and hits the ball back like Happy Gilmore, and then Shooter's putting,
Yeah.
And what is he, drive for show and putt for dough, and he does his little
Yeah. Who is it? What's his name?
Shooter. Well, Jamie hadn't gotten back to me yet.
Oh, good grief.
So.
I'm gonna have to. I'll find it while you tell us about your number 2.
All right, number 2 is The Natural.
Robert Redford
and Robert Duvall.
Yep.
1984. Amazing baseball movie. I watched it a million times probably growing up when I was a kid. Knocks the cover off the ball. It's pretty incredible.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one.
So good. And it took, there were some adult things going on in that movie that just went over my head as a kid. I just love the baseball parts and everything. But it's a great story altogether. So, and then number 1, Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers, 1986. Fantastic
Great movie.
basketball movie. My favorite sports movie of all time.
Christopher McDonald. I don't know why I thought it was a Robert. That was the guy's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were way off.
I apologize, Christopher.
Way off.
So Hoosiers.
One of my, top favorite sports movies. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably in my top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever my high school basketball coach watched Hoosiers,
Oh yeah.
the
You've said this
practice the
before.
next
Yeah.
day was Hoosier-like. Like chairs, there'd be folding chairs set up on the court, and we're doing
Drills.
dribbling. Oh yeah.
Dribbling drills around the chairs. Yep. All right, Chet, you're up next.
Okay, man. Number 3, Remember the Titans.
Good movie.
The
Good one.
Titans.
Denzel.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a good a good supporting cast in that too. If you know the kids on the football team, I think they did a really good job. Tough story, good, but I like it. Great movie. Number 2, Miracle.
Ah, that's another.
Miracle on Ice.
That's another good one.
Was that 84?
1980.
80.
I've had the opportunity to meet Jim Craig, the goalie on that team,
Oh, nice.
which was pretty neat. And we kind of talked a little bit about that and how, from an accuracy perspective and naturally the game itself and all that leading up to on the ice stuff was public and very accurate. But he said he actually captured the coach, Kurt Russell, did a good job of kind of showing how it was. And they had a couple of the team members actually on the
set.
helping out with the script.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So make sure that was executed well. But yeah, just fantastic and just I like the movie itself. It's a really good movie. Get your blood going.
It's good.
Number 1, Hoosiers.
Ah, all right.
Look at that.
We agree on something.
Absolutely. That is just one of the best sports movies.
Were they the Hoosier State? Which one is that? Is that
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Hoosiers.
Just fantastic. Old Dennis Hopper. I mean, just Jimmy Chitwood. That was the star basketball player.
Yeah, and I was doing a little research on IMDb.
Yeah.
Writing down the year and everything. He retired from acting in 2010, I think, that actor, and he became a caddy at a golf course for celebrities and was a caddy there, but now he's in construction. And he lives in South California.
Really?
Just in case.
Oh, okay.
You wanted to know that. Came across that.
I don't know. One of the coolest scenes in that movie too, I think, was when they went to the stadium for the state championship game, and he brought the tape measure. It's hey, measure the so and so get on the shoulders and measure the rim. How far is it? 10 feet? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the dimensions of the goal at our state? At our gym. Like 10 feet. Yeah, same. Then measure the. He had to measure it all out. Like it's the same court.
Same court. Yeah. Another scene from that movie, if you will, is when Gene Hackman, the coach's character, comes to talk to Jimmy to try to get him on the team.
Yeah.
And he's outside and he's shooting.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's
with that
only
half deflated ball kind of thing on the dirt. Yeah.
He makes every shot until, he gives him the ball back and says, I want you to think about it, or whatever the line is. And then after Gene Hackman walks off, he misses.
Ah.
Yeah. It's very cool.
That's definitely my number 1 basketball movie, number 1 sports movie. Number 2 favorite basketball movie, The Pistol.
Oh, that's a good one.
Have you ever seen that? Oh, about Pistol Pete Maravich.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know who it was about. I don't think I've ever seen it. It's been years.
I mean, that came
Matter of
out.
fact, back when I was playing basketball in high school, since I've seen Hoosiers.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you need to dust that off. Watch it with your girls.
I actually thought about it.
Yeah.
In preparation for this podcast, I was actually going to watch that again because I remember it being a great movie when I watched it so long ago, and I just never have rewatched it.
And The Pistol came out when I was in middle school. I mean, that was
years ago.
So you were in college. And,
no, not quite.
He was already graduated.
Matt was.
I do remember renting it at the store.
Matt was
VHS.
still drinking out of a bottle, so
that one year from middle school. Or you just calling me
young?
I'm just saying he's old and you were a baby, and I was in middle school.
I just was, if I was developmentally delayed, if that's what you're trying to get at.
Hey, you said it, not me. All right, what's your top 3, Matt?
Top 3 sports movies. I watch a lot of movies.
Yes,
so
we were aware of this. However, you missed some blatantly obvious movies that you should have watched, but go ahead.
Well, I just watch the ones that don't suck. I'd have to say number 3 would be Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
And Billy Bob Thornton's one of my favorite actors. He can play so many roles well. And I think I first watched this because, growing up, I was a soccer guy. I really didn't care anything about football, but it's really hard to find a good soccer movie. Bend It Like Beckham wasn't it.
I've never seen
Don't think I saw that one.
Yeah.
Good movie, just wasn't it for me. But that whole high school football feel where they take everything so seriously, and our community is like that. Our football program is awesome. And
shout out Andale, Kansas.
And they're good.
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it really, I can identify with that movie quite a bit, not even having, played on the team. And just seeing the characters and the way that they handle different things. And I love the movie. So that'd be number 3.
I think if you were, well, I'll let you finish 2 and 1. It might be on your list. I doubt it, but we'll see. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope.
Go ahead. I don't want to ruin it.
You won't. I can guarantee it.
I was going to say, like, yours is Friday Night Lights. I think I'm a little older than you, so mine
Varsity Blues.
In the era, yes, is Varsity Blues for sure.
Well, and now I do like Varsity Blues as well. That's my era too, Troy. I'm only a year younger than you.
I know, but you always say how old I am.
You are old.
See?
But yeah, Varsity Blues and the pig named Bacon.
Yeah.
That movie was really good. Who was that? Was that Vanderbeek? Who was
that? Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
Puke and Rally.
Yeah. That one was good too. And the guy holding the pot on his head and taking the baseball bat and hitting him in the nuts. And I've seen that movie.
Are we bumping Friday Night Lights off the list?
That's Varsity Blues is more comedy to me than Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights is
drama.
It's all drama.
It's more of a true depiction of what really goes on. Maybe not to that extent. Where the dad's beating the son to death over missing some passes and stuff. But, because for our program, our dads are extremely supportive of their children. So
yes.
That's right. Yes.
Again, it comes back to that authoritarian, that type of leadership style. So anyway, that's number 3. Number 2, Karate Kid. Karate is a sport.
Yeah, it is. They had the tournament. The tournament.
I watched the tournament.
The tournament.
I watched that with my youngest daughter the other day. She enjoyed it.
Did she get all giddy at the end when Daniel kicked?
She didn't get giddy and squeal
and scream.
She enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's tough because I'm kind of like you, where you kind of did your whole head shake that this kind of might be a sports movie.
No, it's
kind
a
of
sports
might not
movie.
Be.
100%
because
sports
it's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the top 3 of all time favorite movies. But in the category of sports movies, there's some leeway there.
It's a sport. Karate's a sport.
It is, but
it's not as far-fetched.
It's not a team sport.
As Die Hard being a Christmas movie. It's not as far-fetched.
It's totally closer. Yeah.
It's way closer than that. So I think you're good.
But I could not make a list without Karate Kid being on it.
Well, it's still a sports movie.
It's fair.
And
I like it.
I don't think I need to go any more in depth about Karate Kid because obviously we know.
Right. If you were to get a tattoo, that would be it.
No, Cobra Kai.
Well, Johnny was the real Karate Kid.
No, we're not going to get into that argument.
But you didn't like the Cobra Kai dojo until the Cobra Kai TV series came out.
Right. No, the Cobra Kai dojo and John Kreese and all those guys were, any other movie. It's so funny because those actors get worried about being typecasted.
Yeah.
And back then, even now, if I saw John Kreese on the street, I'd be like,
yeah, I don't know if I trust that guy.
Right.
I don't like him. And so in any other movie that he was in,
Badger, get him.
or any other show that he was in, I was like, that dude's a douchebag. I don't like that guy, So it'd be very hard for him to have any other part,
Yeah.
And I would, Johnny got some grace because at the end of the first Karate Kid, Johnny went.
He apologized.
No, he didn't apologize.
He handed him the trophy.
He handed him the trophy and said, "Good job."
You're all right, LaRusso.
Yeah, you're all right.
That's an apology.
No.
Yeah.
But not, maybe that's how you apologize, and that's why this office is the way it is. But I was like, okay, he's deep down, he's a good guy. His coach just really messed him up, and then that coach being Kreese, and Kreese never changed throughout any of the three.
And Allie treating him like dirt messed him up too. On top of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a hard upbringing, and then
Yeah.
Cobra Kai showed that, with his childhood. So,
Hard upbringing at the country club, real tough.
stepfather, and he didn't want any of that money, and stepfather didn't care about him. No love in the house. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You don't have love.
I gotcha.
Word
up.
Good word.
So you might want to change yours because, you're up. But so anyway, that's number 2.
All right.
Wow. Number one.
Number 1, and I can't expound on this movie as much as I just did Karate Kid because I've seen Karate Kid 400, 500 times. I mean, if I'm bored, that's what comes on. But the number 1 is a movie that I believe I mentioned in my previous top 3. I could be wrong. But I know I've talked about it at one point, and that movie is Woodlawn. And I don't have either of you guys
I still haven't seen it. I need to watch that.
You seen it, Chet?
No.
So
I don't take any of your movie recommendations.
this one is a you need to watch it.
Okay.
Is it on Netflix? Where'd you watch it? Prime?
Prime, I think, and I had to buy it.
Okay. That's why I haven't seen it.
But it was one of those movies that I had no idea about. And then like 3, 4 some odd years ago, my dad is incredibly tough to buy for because he doesn't want anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, give me something, and he's like, oh, I'd like to see that Woodlawn movie. And so I look it up and I was like, okay, I'll get him the Woodlawn movie. I guess he knows what he's getting.
Right.
And I get to reading it, and it's a football movie. And I'm like, that is 100% not something that my dad would normally watch because he doesn't care really about sports at all. So got to looking at that and I was like, I wonder why he wants this movie. And so I gave it to him as a gift, whatever. And then I don't know, I kept telling myself, I was like, I need to watch that. But the only way that I could watch it was to buy it. And I was like, I don't want to watch it that bad. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, I don't want to pay to watch that bad.
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, this thing's never going to come out to where I can just watch it for free. And so I bought it and watched it. Love it. And the movie, it takes place back in the time where they're trying to integrate the football teams. And this one coach has this player, and he's a black player and phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal player. But he's getting in to replace a white kid. And then of course the dad's not happy, whatever, all the politics get involved in that. But this kid goes out and runs a play and I mean, just boom, scores a touchdown. And what brought this team together, because the coach was kind of, a little bit reserved. And I'm guessing they had I want to call it maybe not necessarily a missionary, but somebody came and spoke to the team and talked to them about Jesus.
Like a chaplain, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And so he talked to the team, and he wasn't really a chaplain. What he was supposed, I guess he was, supposed to be good at football, and then he got injured and whatever. But basically now he's got the whole team going to Bible studies, and, you got black and white mixing together and under one roof, talking about Jesus, and really brought that team together. And it was amazing to see that transformation, even to the point the coach got invited to the meeting, but he stood outside and then he just said, I can't go in because I can't believe in stuff that I can't see.
Yeah.
And left. But the change that he saw in his team, he ends up going to the...
Spoiler alert.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a bit of spoiling going on.
Not really.
Yeah. You're giving the whole plot away. I feel like I don't have to go buy it now.
You're still going to want to watch it.
Kind of right there. You're describing this so well. I'm right there. I was on the verge of tears before Troy yelled out spoiler alert.
Well,
I didn't want you to cry on the show, Chet.
I think all of that you could probably get from the description or the trailer.
Okay.
And then so he shows up and to church, and majority of the people in this church are black, but he's going to that player, and he went to his church and he said, he just wanted to apologize, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I want what he's got, and says, I want to be baptized. And he gets baptized in that church.
Yeah.
And, follows them through that season, and I'll leave it up to the imagination what happens there. I won't tell you.
They win.
Spoilers. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And
one of them gets hurt in a car wreck.
No, that's greater.
That's also Remember the Titans.
Yeah. But greater.
I did watch that one based on your recommendation.
Good movie, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I'll have to write that one down too. Here we go.
And that one almost made the list, but I was like, man,
Yeah.
it was on the verge. I didn't think it was as good as these other three.
Yeah.
But extremely good movie. And then, at the end, they have this high school football game, and I can't remember how many people they said showed up. I mean, it's a high school football game. It's not even a championship game or anything like that. I mean, it's just a regular game, and they had like 20 some odd thousand people show up for this game, to the point they were turning people away.
Right.
And I mean, incredible.
Wow.
The what do you call the preseason high school games when they just play 2 quarters?
Scrimmage?
Jamboree.
Jamboree? Yeah, Jamboree. That's right.
Yeah. West Monroe and
Monroe?
no, the Evangel
Oh, yeah.
showed up in Ruston for a jamboree to play 2 quarters of football. They played at Louisiana Tech Stadium, and like 25,000 people showed up.
Yeah.
For 2 quarters of football.
Oh.
Preseason game.
Two of the best teams in the region.
Or the state. Yeah, they always met at the state playoffs or the state championship.
Yeah.
But the two coaches.
Which, I'm sorry to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead and interrupt my top
But
three.
Alan Robertson, right?
yeah,
Let's go to break.
one of the guys I worked with had just moved down from Michigan, and those 2 teams were playing, not this game, but they were playing in Shreveport at Evangel in one of the playoff games, and all the West Monroe people whose mascot is the Rebels were driving down I-20 to go to the game, and all of them had Confederate battle flags in the back of their truck. And this is like 1990s, late 90s. And he that was like his first weekend in town, and he called somebody he didn't know too well that he worked with, like one of the supervisors that reported to him, said, "Hey man, what's going on? We got all these Confederate flags all over town. Is something happening that I don't know about?" Like, he thought there was some kind of Confederate rally.
Oh no.
That the South is going to rise again kind of thing. And he was like, "No man, it's a football game." And he's like, "What?" There's like thousands of cars. He's like, "Yeah, it's a football game." Yeah,
They're just the Rebels.
Yeah.
Just the Rebels.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, I completely forgot what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
No. So the 2 coaches, I mean, in the beginning they had issues, but at this game, and I can't remember who this guy was or what position he was in, but we'll call him the chaplain for lack of a better term. And that may be what he was. Gets out there, and the coach is like, "Will you lead us in prayer before the game?" Because even here, we'll do a we do the
invocation.
we do the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer before the games, and so for us that's still not a big deal. Of course, it is a Catholic community, but even back then, I guess that caused some controversy. And so the coach that had been saved goes, "Let us pray." And some dude up in the chaplain comes out and he's going to lead him in the Lord's Prayer, and somebody up in the box, unplugs his mic, and then everybody in that stadium finished the prayer.
Oh wow!
And so the coach that had the problems, and then this coach, I mean, just showed everybody coming together, and in the only kind of way that God can bring people together. And so that's why I think that movie is so great, and everybody should watch that movie, because it seems to me like we're almost kind of repeating those times a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they're manufactured. It's not the way that it was back then. This is kind of, I think kind of the situation we're in is manufactured by the media, because it's not something that the overwhelming majority of the way of people feel, in my opinion. So great movie. Lessons learned from back when segregation was a thing. So
Yeah.
that'd be my number one, Woodlawn.
All right. Cool. Very good.
Thank you for that, Matt.
Anytime. Do what I can.
Very good. I've got a list going now. Chet.
Troy.
Lead us out with a good word, sir.
Or just take us to a good word, and then we'll lead us out.
There you go.
After, can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. You got anything for you, Matt?
You guys done?
No.
You shake hands? Okay. News. A good word is about news. News isn't necessarily the good word. So there's this book. I kind of got this article I read from Marvin Olasky. Kind of got me thinking about this, some of the stuff in here, and then I did a little bit more digging to get some content for us today. But he talked about a book that Neil Postman wrote back in 1985 called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And the theme of the book was that there was so much information that people had at their fingertips that they hadn't had before, that he was afraid that the global population was going to amuse itself to death, that they were going to live frivolous lives and die laughing because of the access to information that we had in 1985. So it's now 2021, and if somebody was thinking that the human race had just too much and we were just too concerned about just more information, now we're 2021 and we've got Twitter, Instagram, 17 different 24-hour news channels, several different 24-hour weather channels, TikTok, Facebook.
Way beyond dial-up TV and VHS.
So the concern,
Beta.
not necessarily that we would be living frivolous lives and die laughing. It seems like we have so much access to information right now that everybody's going to die crying or just live anxiously. Like there's just it's information overload. And I think the place that we're giving news in our lives is way higher than it should be. All the focus that we have on everything else that's going on around us. And we know in Ecclesiastes 1 and verse 9, there is nothing new where?
Under the sun.
That's right. It says, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun.
Ooh,
so
I think I just kind of almost quoted that with Woodlawn.
That will lead us to
Cray.
Acts chapter 17 and Paul's missionary journey where he goes through Athens, Greece. He comes across the Athenians, and verse 21, now all the Athenians and the foreigners who live there would spend their time in nothing except telling or hearing something new. So if you want to go back to 50, 52 AD, it seems like then the Athenians were only interested in spending their time on things that are telling something new or hearing something new, which reminds me of scrolling through social media. That's all we're concerned about today. What can I be upset with today? What's new today? What's new today? Oh, let's hate the president for this.
It's not even what's new today. It's what's new this hour. What's new this hour. What's new this hour.
Yeah. So that was an issue back in Paul's day. We also know from Solomon that we shouldn't be surprised that we're right back there where people are just wanting to discuss and be entertained by what's new. And I would encourage us to not let the news be that for us. Not that we need to be ignorant as to what's going on, but we need to
Troy.
we need to meter how much we're going to be focused on it. Are we being consumed with it? Is it driving our anxiousness in our lives? Is it driving way too much negative behavior, negative talk? How many people, are my neighbors that I'm yelling at because they're not wearing a mask, or they are wearing a mask, or whatever vaccine this, or whatever Afghanistan that,
or whatever fishing lure that they're trying to recommend to people on the lake at your house and you don't agree with it? That was you.
I didn't get mad about it.
You brought it up.
I didn't lose sleep over it either. I didn't need anything new, Matt. What I have works.
You let it take up your time.
What I have works.
In your little community Facebook.
No, but that's what my good word. My good word would be. I can't
believe he's making that.
Yeah, there was some bad recommendations there.
Well, I've had to set guardrails up on my news consumption because it gets me all riled up really quick.
Yeah.
So I have a weekly email that I get sent to my inbox, and I just read headlines. I can't even click into the actual article because I just get to.
We need to talk about who sends that to you and whether or not it's even worth reading. But I gave up 24-hour news, I don't know, 5 years ago. Never looked back. It's been great. I read most everything now. I do some video stuff.
I get a lot of our news from right here in this room.
That's dangerous.
That's news from basically one side.
And very, very biased news.
Extremely biased.
But the news isn't the most important thing in our lives. It's not.
No.
And we shouldn't act like it is. And, they always say find your values by where you spend your money or where you spend your time. And if a majority of your time is being spent on getting worked up over stuff that you can't control, then I think you need to find some better use of your time.
Yep.
That's my good word for today.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chet.
Well, actually, before we cut, I do want to give a shout out. So we were talking about the interpreters that helped us out. And so I don't care if you have to pee, Troy.
No, I don't.
Right. But one of the interpreters that I served with was fortunate enough to come back. And he
made it back to the States.
He made it back to the States,
but years ago.
This was years ago. Maybe 3 years ago, I think he made it and became a no kidding U.S. citizen. Took the oath and became a United States citizen. It was he said it's one of the hardest but most rewarding things that he's ever done. And he was killed last week or 2 weeks ago in a trucking accident. So he was a over the road trucker there in Kentucky and was killed. So, but at least he got to spend a few years as a free American and know what that's like. And
that's awesome.
So I just want to, say for, any of the guys that served with him that know Mike, that are, our thoughts are with him and his family as they deal with the loss of their relative and loved one. So anyway, that was all I wanted.
All right.
Give Mike a shout out.
Very good.
Sounds good.
All right. We out? Maybe.
I think we are.
All right.
Just waiting on the music.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to another episode or watching of Hardheaded
Podcast.
Find us at hardheadedpodcast.com.
Give us a like, a share, subscribe, rate us, please, on Apple iTunes.
Yes, please rate us. Give us 5 stars. And how about, a little write-up?
Yeah, that'd be great. A little comment there.
Yeah, great. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Same place, same time.
We're not going to make it. We're just going to cut it. We're going to cut it right at the drop.